Yeah. Man, being Trunks is hard. What is up, Bad Brood? Eric here with Team Badman. Welcome guys back to another edition of Bad Builds, where we take a look at the decks that we've been building here at Team Badman to give you guys an idea of what we've been working on, some of our ideas behind the cards, and hopefully give you guys something new to try out, some new cards to consider. And today we are doing a revisit of one of my absolute favorite decks, one that has become a little bit of synonymous with Team Badman as well, alongside our Conflict 18, and that is Saiyan Trunks. Trunks is, of course, my personal favorite character in the entirety of the Dragon Ball canon, bar none favorite, and he's had quite a gradual growth into what he is now. Of course, he was released in set 1, and he had the whole, look at your opponent's cards, look at your cards kind of thing, but he didn't really fit anywhere, and that kind of sucked. I mean, of course, we've had guys like DDA from Random Number Gaming really, kind of make it work, turn it into something. He didn't start to open up until Evolution came out, when he got a brand new stack, a little bit more of an aggro-centric one, kind of forcing skips on your opponent, dealing out a whole lot of damage. And he got some fantastic new named cards as well along the way, and cards like Trunks' Sword Stance, which allow him to level quickly, and Trunks' Slam, which is not only considered styled, but can force your opponent to pass under the right circumstances. And now with Awakening, he has his third brand new stack, and the same amount of starter deck releases. And he's looking really, really good right now. He's got a great way to mix and match stacks. And of course, we had to revisit Saiyan with him. That's exactly what we're here for. The downside here is our original mastery is gone. We are missing the Saiyan Empowered Mastery, which is a real downer for Trunks. He loved being able to have that extra anger, the easy ways to level up and whatnot. But never fear, we have got a workaround now with the new Saiyan Dynamic Mastery, which allows him to start off of that level 1, which is usually a slow spot for Trunks. Instead, he can start on what's a fantastic new level 2. He's got a lot of great cards to work with now, especially in the sword package, and of course that's what we're going to be working with here. There are a bunch of great new Saiyan cards, and of course with the popularity of Unleashed, it's very, very easy for Trunks to get to that quick level up point and be very, very heavily aggressive. And it's just super, super solid. So that is what we are going to focus on here today. Today we're looking at the brand new Saiyan Dynamic Trunks, our sword revamp for set 7, and we're just going to get right into it. Now this one does have a mixed stack to it, which is something I wanted to do with the Trunks MP for a while, and I think this works almost perfectly, especially with the Dynamic Mastery. So for our level 1, we're starting with the Vengeance level 1. Yeah, I know that's unusual. Everyone's about the Dynamic level 1 with the whole double anger kind of thing. But because this is a sword package, and we do of course run aggressive sword drill in here, we want to not only be able to tech that out quickly should we decide to start on level 1, but we also want the extra ability to get some cards back if we decide to use our sword cards. So that's why there's the option here. The main reason is because we can start on level 2 with the Dynamic Mastery. Of course, we're using the brand new Awakening level 2. We get a proactive block on this level. We get the ability to get sword cards from the Banish Zone, which is huge because a lot of very powerful sword cards banish themselves after use. So we're able to get those back very, very easily. Continue gaining some of that anger, which is going to be an uphill battle in Dynamic anyway because you have the whole 6 anger requirement. We aren't running Analysis Drill in here, so it's going to be a 6 requirement across the entirety of the game. And we end out with Evolution 3 and Evolution 4. Evolution 3 I have always preferred over just about any other level, because while you may not get the hand advantage that Premier 3 offers you, or you may not get the stop on anger lowering that you get out of the new Awakening level 3, you get hand filtering, you force your opponent to skip, and you can set up some really, really strong combos with Trunks' Evolution level 3, and I've always liked that. Plus, his level 4 has that awesome +5 modifier, and that's where we want to close this game out. We want to get to 4, and we want to hit for tons and tons of damage, and that's what this level 4 does extremely, extremely well. So that's the stack right there. The main reason that we have this Sprout stack, especially with the Vengeance 1, is shifting gears. This is a kind of a more shifting gear sort of deck. 2 is usually where you want to start at. You want to be able to play that kind of defensive, proactive game, and you want to force your opponent to play to you, play to your actions, to everything that you are doing, and have to change up their game plan in ways that they haven't expected. So that's the big part here. And if by chance they do manage to lower you down with an errant, blue takedown, blue neck beam, or Dragon Ball 2 of some kind, you can easily switch gears and you can start switching to the more proactive kind of drill-oriented sword sort of package that we've got going on here. That's exactly what this deck is all about. So of course, we're going to start off with the drills here. We do run a few drills of choice. Of course, we have 2 copies of Aggressive Sword Drill. You want to be able to get those sword cards out really, really fast. That allows you to do that. This drill is super, super effective for that. The fact that your name cards can't have their damage prevented is huge as well, because of course there are a lot of great Trunks named cards right now. That's exactly what we want to do here. And we have 2 copies of Saiyan Protection Drill. The reason this is in here is because we like being able to prevent damage. A lot of heavy modifiers are out right now. Goku's got big modifiers. Vegeta has big modifiers. Broly's always had big modifiers, and we want to be able to do that. Plus, Saiyan is known for having a lot of really good endurance cards, and if we can continue to get those back when we're taking damage, we're going to do exactly that. And Protection Drill allows you to do that. Plus, Saiyan's got some decent drill tech to it. So it's in here just so that you can help kind of keep your life deck a little bit more stacked and take a little bit less damage, especially when you may not necessarily have the blocks to work with. So after that, there are other options that we can include for the drills here. There are some that I wanted to include, like Hidden Power Drill, which is a really, really good drill at the moment, especially in Trunks, since he's got a lot of heavy swinging attacks in here, a lot of ways to drain stages. But the lack of room for the kind of overall fit of the deck was really, really challenging. It's something I might swap in and out here and there. I would really consider that maybe for a protection drill or maybe for one of the attacks that we've gotten here. Who knows, it's a possibility. But we want to stay relatively light on it and mainly use the drill that we are most focused on, that's Aggressive Sword Drill. Of course, there's plenty other freestyle options. You can run a suite of acquisition drills if you need more anger hate. You can run Lookout Drill if Mill becomes a really big thing, especially with Cell right now. You could switch out Quickness Drill and recycle your hand. There's a lot of options with Trunks, but Aggressive Sword Drill is the focus, and since we're not starting on one, it's fairly light as is, and we're just going to leave it that way. Next up, we have the setups, which is where I usually start, but that's because we have drills in here, and we usually don't in a lot of other decks. But this time, it's just as light of a lineup as we have on the drills. We've got 2 copies of Saiyan Peace, because fast leveling is a big thing right now. Anger decks are a big thing right now. We want to be able to disrupt that as easily as possible. So Peace is a really, really good board spot for that. The reason this is preferred over Saiyan Assistance is because Assistance is only when they level by a card effect. So that would require them to use Unleashed or I'll Dig Your Grave. There are some answers for that in here anyway. So we want to be able to just kind of stop it regardless of however they're leveling. However your opponent may be leveling, you want to address that. And that's exactly what Peace is here for. And 2 copies of Visiting the Past. 1 has got Trunks on it. 2, you get a card out of your discard pile. 3, you can help set it up for Trunks' level 3. There are a lot of options here with Visiting the Past. It's a very, very good setup, and of course you're going to want it in here as it is. Next up, we have our event lineup, and we've got a pretty stacked event lineup, which is a little bit expected for Saiyan style. Saiyan's got some great events to work with. That's what we've got here. 3 copies of Saiyan Outrage because it's our quintessential Omni block. A lot of times, especially if you're dealing out the damage you should be with this deck, Trunks is going to have a higher power level, so you're going to get plenty of those attached cards out, be able to utilize their effects to the best benefit that you possibly can. And speaking of attached cards, of course, this deck runs 3 copies of Unleashed because you want to level fast, and Dynamic Mastery doesn't facilitate that. Sure, you get the constant anger from cards that don't have anger, but 1, that's only for styled cards, and very few of our sword cards are actually styled, and 2, you're not really going to level off of anger anyway. You need that fast leveling mechanic, and Unleashed is there for that. You could use something like Trunks' Sword Stance, but then we would want to start using the premier levels, and it wouldn't be a good mix and match with the current stack we're using, so we're just going to use Unleashed, and besides, Saiyan's got the best pool of attached cards in the game, so why not just use that? Along with that, we are using 2 copies of Saiyan Sword Skill, again, an attached card. Isn't that fantastic? Sword Skill is one of the best attached cards that's in this deck. If you play it straight from your hand, you get to draw a card, replace it. Plus, if it's got Sword in the title, which a lot of these are considered to have Sword in the title for your effects, you drain your opponent 5 stages. Very, very effective. All of your style attacks gain hit. Your opponent skips their next action. Massively disruptive. Very, very Trunks. And that's why it's in here. I love it as an attached card. One of our other attached cards in here, our next event, of course, is 2 copies of Saiyan Rescue. No, it's 1 copy of Saiyan Rescue. I'm really bad at reading right now. I'm sorry. 1 copy of Saiyan Rescue. It's not as good as it used to be in Empowered because you don't get to rejuve and gain the anger off of it, but still a card you get back. It doesn't have a detach clause on it, which most other attached cards do, especially in this deck. And that's something you want to have. You want to have the selective rejuve. We all know how good it is. It's a natural target you would want for Unleash or anything that attaches cards. So that's good. And 1 times a Warrior's Tool. Moving on. So next up, we have the physical combat cards, and this is the bulk of the deck, because a lot of our sword cards are physical. As I mentioned, we have a lot of sword cards in here, so of course we have to start off with the bulk of our real focus here, and that's all the Trunks named cards. Trunks has monstrously good named cards, so we have 3 copies of Trunks' Knee Bash. Of course, this is huge. This is some of your board tech. This gives you additional anger. This is something that you can rejuve using Trunks level 2 power. This is something you can get out with Dashing Sword Attack, which, yes, that is in here as expected. It's absolutely fantastic. It gets rid of opposing attached cards. It gets rid of board. It's really good. It's a fantastic name card to add to his suite, and I love this card. Absolutely love it. Next is 3 copies of Trunks' Slam. I didn't have this one originally in the set 6 build because I didn't feel it was super necessary with it. But in this ever fast-paced and ever aggressive meta, this is a really big deal. Ending combat is huge right now. So the ability to stop an opponent's attack, throw this, net yourself an extra anger, and force your opponent to pass so that you can pass as well and skip out of combat is a really big deal. It's a fairly strong card, AT plus 3 considered styled. That's not too bad there, but you have to set it up a little bit more than some of the other named cards. You really do, but it's completely worthwhile. Love having it in the deck again, because it's been a while and I forgot how good it actually is until I started using it again. Next, of course, our last name card, 3 copies of Trunks' Sword Slash. We all know how good the discard pile hate is. Banish 6, it's the best in the game right now. AT plus 4 is super strong. If it hits, your next non-style, or your next styled energy attack can't be stopped. So that's great. So we do have energy combats in here. Good energy combats, so there's not really a reason to not include this one for a number of reasons. It facilitates everything. It's the original named card. I still enjoy utilizing it. Next is 3 copies of Dashing Sword Attack. Continuing with the sword package, we need the good sword cards. And this one is definitely one of them. It lowers your opponent's anger, they lose stages. If it hits, you get to attack a sword card out of your discard pile, in which you just saw, we have a lot of sword options. It's very good. It does banish itself, so it's something that you can continuously rejuve with Trunks' level 2 power. And if you do manage to get leveled down to 1, or if you have aggressive sword drill out, you can just continue to block with it with Trunks' 2 power, rejuvenate Dashing Sword Attack, and then get it right back out the next turn using aggressive sword drills. There's a lot of easy ways to just continue to recycle it. Very strong, and an absolute staple of sword decks. Next, we're finally into the styled cards, and of course we have to start off with the sword card, 3 copies of Saiyan Sword Strike. Still probably the best sword card in the game. AT plus 4, if your opponent passed, can't be stopped, can't have his damage to prevent, you can swing for massive amounts of damage with this attack. Absolutely massive. This is a card that will win you games very easily. It has to be in here, absolutely has to be. It doesn't banish itself after use, so it's easy to combo with Dashing Sword Attack. It's one that you're never not excited to draw into. I love this card. It's my favorite sword card. Absolute 3 of in here. Huge deal. Next is 3 copies of Saiyan Turning Kick. Now I'm a little kind of in and out on this one, but it's in here for 2 reasons. The first is if it's banished for endurance, you get search your discard pile for a drill and place into play. It's a style drill though, which is why we have the protection drill. Plus it's got endurance 3 on it, so you're preventing a decent amount of damage. You're getting out that protection drill. It's really, really solid there. Plus, if you control a style drill, it goes up by +3 life cards, and the damage can't be prevented. So you're hitting for 7 life cards unpreventable. Very, very strong. Even if it doesn't have that, still 4 life cards is not too bad. The endurance is great. It does have plenty of potential in here, but there are some other cards that you could run. If you want to be a little bit more aggro with it, Saiyan Face Off is a good option, so that way you can look into your opponent's hand and start targeting cards out. You could throw in Saiyan Dive if you need any kind of board control. There are a lot of options you can include in here in place of this, but I've been enjoying it with the drills, especially as another means of tutoring out drills, especially if you've leveled. So I enjoy this one here. And lastly, 3 copies of Saiyan Left Kick, AT +4 life, Raise Your Anger 1. It's plenty strong, not really a reason for it to not be in here. And of course, following that, we have to follow with the physical blocks. 3 copies of Saiyan Parry. I love this block right now. This block is fantastic. The fact that you're starting on level 2 and typically above most opponents by that time, it makes it very easy for it to stay out to be used a second time. If you manage to unleash and get up to that level 4 before your opponent does, if you can stick them on a lower level, you're able to use it the second time. Very, very solid for that. And 3 copies of Saiyan Flip. This counts as an extra attached card, which is nice. It's got some extra endurance on it, which is relatively cool. But it's in here because you want some very, very consistent damage across the board. You don't want to be in those lower power stages and hitting for a pittance of damage, 2, 3, 5 stages, whatever it is. This helps you do that, especially if you do camp on 2 for the majority of the game. Trunks is, really, really solid on the damage front, especially if you get up to that level 4. That +5 modifier is massive, absolutely massive. And while this may lower your damage output on level 4, you want that level of consistency, and always being able to throw for 4 is nice. It can bite you in the butt because it affects your opponent as well. But that is definitely a risk that you have to take with this card. And I think it's generally not too bad, given the somewhat defensive nature of this deck, to go ahead and attach it and be swinging, consistently for 7, 8, 9, 10 stages, whatever it might be off of your attacks. I think that's pretty worthwhile. And lastly, we've got our energy combat cards. There's a few energy combat cards in here, mainly for some utility. They do deal out a decent amount of damage as well. 3 copies of Saiyan Prepped Ball. Prep Ball is one that kind of went under the radar for a while. One, mainly because from Heroes and Villains, which everyone really kind of forgot about. And 2, because there weren't a huge amount of useful events to really pull back out and continue to reutilize. But you've got options in this deck, you really do. Seeing an Outrage in the discard pile always sucks. So Prep Ball lets you pull out Outrage, get that in your hand, that's additional block. Maybe you lost one of your sword skills and you want to attach it. Prep Ball, get it back. That's an extra action, that's an extra card you get to draw. Maybe you want your Rescue. Go ahead, throw a Prep Ball, get it back, start rejuvenating. It's easy, it's effective. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but that's not why it's here. It's not, it's been really solid. And if you decide to tweak it and add in some different events and whatnot, it can just get better from here. 3 copies of Saiyan Rapid Fire, my absolute favorite energy attack, maybe even in the game, but it's my absolute favorite energy attack in the style. 1 for 5, unpreventable, unmodifiable, guaranteed crit if it hits, gives you the additional anger. This is super, super good. This is an amazing card. It's a card that has won me games before because it's just that easy to, just surprise an opponent with it. Okay, cost me 1 stage, that's easy to have. Oh look, I got a crit, I can take a Dragon Ball, or I can get rid of the allies from bothering me, or maybe I prevented you from leveling this turn from the crit, or whatever it might be. This is amazing. If you're not running it, you should be running it in just about any Saiyan deck out there. Lastly, 3 copies of Saiyan Aerial Attack. Again, I said I had some drill tech in here. That's what this is for. Another Endurance 3 card to go alongside the Turning Kick is great because we like buffing up the extra endurance, wicking off some damage from attacks. 2 for 4 is alright. But if it hits, you do get the ability to search a drill out of your life deck or discard pile. I'm ignoring the police driving by because they are not relevant to drills. But it's the main reason that it's in there. Sure, you've only got 1 drill to get out, but the sooner you can get it out, the better, and Aerial Attack does let you do that. And of course, we need to have energy blocks in here as well. Energy attacks are getting bigger and bigger again in the metagame, so we want to be able to have those. We have 3 copies of Saiyan Crouch. This is an awesome new energy block. You block, attaches, your PR becomes +3 while it's attached. Plus, when you level, it gets rejuvenated. It doesn't get discarded, doesn't get banished. It gets rejuvenated, so it goes right back into your life deck. Endurance 2 is awesome on it. It's a really, really easy target to, have for your Unleashed. And sure, you're not going to be able to pop it to lower your opponent, but you make do with what you've got. And 3 copies of Saiyan Obstruction. Now, I know this isn't a block. I know it doesn't stop the attack, instead prevents all of the damage. I know that. But right now, a big thing going on is energy attacks that can't be stopped. In particular, Vegeta. Vegeta's level 4 makes all the non-styled attacks that he throws unstoppable. And we know that Vegeta's going to swing for a lot of damage. And outside of Gallic Gun, a lot of those are still preventable. So that's what we're trying to work with. That's part of the reason Obstruction's in here, being able to prevent that damage and just work around that is kind of the goal for this. 4 Endurance is awesome. If it gets discarded, it goes back into your life deck. And while that's not as good as it used to be in Empowered, that's still nice to have an extra card going back into your life deck without having to utilize something like Rescue to rejuvenate. So that's the deck, and it's fun. It is most definitely fun. Can hit hard when you want it to, but a lot of the time you want your opponent to play your game. During the early to the mid game, you want to force your opponent into situations where they feel like they have to overextend in order to really get somewhere, especially because a lot of decks are beat heavy decks right now. So that's really, really important. Having a block on a level 2 is fascinating. It's just amazing right now. Never thought, I would miss a defensive action so much, but now the Trunks is here with one. Your opponent always knows that if they're a physical beats deck, they've got oh, sorry about that. They've got at least one attack that will not be going through. Plus, it's extra anger. You get to rejuvenate. It's really, really strong, and it forces your opponent to play around some uncomfortable kind of situations. And then, of course, you want to unleash later on in the game. Get up to that 3, disrupt your opponent, and start recycling some of your attacks. And then get to your 4 and close it out with massive, massive damage. But if you do need to switch gears, you have that option. Vengeance level 1 gives you a little bit of the toolbox with aggressive sword drill. You always have the option to level up later on. And if you do level up from 1, you get to keep your drills too. So that's fantastic. It's not bad to start either way. And I enjoy the possibilities of this deck. Always have, and I probably always will. I feel like this is the kind of deck that is the quintessential sword deck. And I think it always will be. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to play it, and I hope you guys are as well. So that's going to do it for this edition of Bad Builds. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to click that like button down below. Give me your thumbs. Love to see them. If not, click the dislike button and let me know what you guys didn't like so that way I can change it for future episodes. Also, if you guys haven't hit the subscribe button down below over here, please be sure to do so that you can follow this series and all of our other series that we've got going on. Of course, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is going really strong. We just started morning matches, which is something I'm super excited about, and that's going to be going full swing here really soon. We've got a bunch of great stuff coming up here, so be sure to check all of it out. And lastly, if you guys haven't found us on social media, all those links down below too. So you guys can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Libsyn. So be sure to check all this out. Go listen to some of our podcasts. And be sure to keep an eye out for our next podcast. We've got a bunch of fantastic guests, including potentially world champion Sandeep Kutumbaka. So I'm really excited to have him on the Badcast. So be sure to check all of that out and come say hey. We'd love to interact with you guys. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm Eric with Team Badman signing out. So thank you guys for watching. And like always, stay bad. We'll see you guys next time. Catch you later.